Now that the dust has settled on one of our biggest releases to date, the RC10 4-wheel drive, we get to reflect a little bit. And also, this bad boy is going to be making an appearance at the Team Associated Vintage Off-Road Championship in October in Las Vegas, most likely in the 1989 to 1993 class, but that's not quite settled yet. We're also going to sit down with one of our lead engineers to talk about testing and what we've learned so far. And at the end, we're going to do an unboxing so you can see what it's like to pop the lid on one of these guys. All right, what's up, guys? I'm here with Andrew Smolnik, design engineer at Associated Electrics. And Andrew had the pleasure of working on and being heavily involved in testing this masterpiece. How are you doing today, Andrew?
Good. Doing good.
Awesome. So let's just get right into it. So when you got the project to test this vehicle, I'm sure you were excited. Probably the first thing you considered is where you were going to test the RC10 4-wheel drive. Tell us where the testing grounds were at.
Yeah. At first, we wanted to make sure that we hit the standard loamier track that a traditional vintage car would be found on. So we went to Oakley. There's a facility down the street. There's an outdoor track that has loamy dirt, and we took it there at first. It performed very well. We were very surprised. But knowing that people might take this car out to a higher bike track, we did. We took it down to SDRC Raceway, where the traction's a lot higher. We're running slicks, and at that track is where we really learned how the car worked and handled, and what it and how the drivetrain would work on a higher bike surface.
Awesome. So you got to do the classic loamy surface, and then nowadays typical hard pack clay. Exactly. So you got to run it through paces on both directions.
Yep, exactly.
That's awesome. So after you got a hold of the car, driving it around to the track, what were some of the initial setup changes you made to the vehicle?
Well, at first we were very surprised at the handling actually of the car. The weight balance was not bad at all, believe it or not, because the motor was on the rear. The traditional 4-wheel drives, there's not that much weight generally on the back. But what we did learn is the addition of the front transmission added a lot of weight to the front.
That makes sense.
And what ended up happening is we need to run stiffer front springs to keep the front end from diving over. So that was pretty much one of the main changes that we put into the kit, was the stiffer front springs, aside from a lot of the geometry on the front end. But the main thing was getting a stiffer front spring. It was just dumping too hard early on with the silver springs.
Did you have any challenges with belt tension or anything throughout the way? It seems like that would be a part that would be a little trial and error.
Yeah. There wasn't actually a lot of problems with the belt tension. We were concerned going in, but the way the belt is secured, it's actually very stable. We ran up to an 8.5 brushless motor in this drivetrain, and it worked great.
So 8.5, that's pretty hot. Now, what do you think the sweet spot is motor-wise for someone running one of these things for longevity and performance?
Definitely, I would recommend a 17.5 for this platform. It'll be plenty fast, and the drivetrain will hold up no problem. It will take faster motors. You can put a 7.5 in it; it'll hold up. But just keep in mind, this is a vintage stealth transmission, front and rear, plus a belt. So you do have the drivetrain really soaking up a lot of the power. And it's almost a way to help the drivetrain will last longer because of that. So, but no issues with putting some power in there.
That's awesome. So of course, there was your initial testing phase. Tell me about a few things you learned kind of after it got out the door and you were still playing with it. Were there any challenges, or did anything come up?
It's always fun when consumers start to get these cars in their hands, start building them. There are some consumers finding that the rear dog bones they look like they're pretty close to the end there. And the most important thing, see, these vintage cars have a very small window for geometry in the rear. So the important thing is to put the correct amount of limiters in the shock. The manual does say 5 in the rear, but some customers, I believe, are overlooking the shock ends. They're not necessarily screwing them on all the way, and that basically will have too much down travel. So what we're doing is we've got the data, the measurements. We're going to add that to the digital manual, and we'll get that data out for everyone. So,
Awesome.
Basically, the rear shock stroke length is important, and we'll get that data out.
Awesome. So I noticed when I was looking through one of the packaging, there was a little bag with a bunch of shims in it and a QR code. Can you tell me what that's all about?
Yes, the shims are to basically shim the diff in the transmission case. There was about a millimeter of space. The diff would float in the case, and that happened due to the old outdrives were slightly different size. So we were trying to make our cases work for the 30-year-old outdrives and our current ones.
And actually, you were telling me about another component at lunch today. I think it was a housing for the belt drive or a bracket or a guide. Someone
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about
Yes.
that. I know I just butchered that.
Now there's a guide that goes onto the belt pulley. It's made of the same material as the steering belt cranks. It's on the same parts tree. This material is a little brittle, but it does need to be that way. So what's happening is the consumer would be they're actually just the build order is incorrect. There's 3 pieces. If you put them all together and try to jam the set screw in, you're gonna crack that part. So you need to put the outer ring onto the pulley, put the set screw in, and then put it onto the top shaft. So we'll do a video on that so that we can kind of clarify that and make it clear for the build, and we'll update the manual as well.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to wrap it up with one big question, and I know you're going to be there. But the Team Associated Vintage Off-Road Championship, are you going to be driving this?
Absolutely. I will be there. This thing is a fun car to drive. It puts an ear-to-ear grin on my face. So.
Yeah, this guy gets to pick whatever he wants to drive because he works here. And if this is the one he's picking and he tested it, you got to believe it's a winner. Well, thank you so much, Andrew. Everyone appreciates it, and let's get at it.
All right. Thank you.
All right. So far, we've talked about all the hype with the RC10 4-wheel drive, also a little bit about development and design and testing. But let's do what we all really came here for, right? Well, if you recognize one of these, you know what's about to happen. Let's unbox this bad boy. I've been waiting months to get into this thing. Only get one shot at this, guys. Boom. Well, let's just move this to the side so we can go one piece at a time. That is one of the most beautiful instruction manuals I've ever seen. Not only because it's designed and printed awesome like most of our stuff, but I just couldn't wait to get my hands onto this thing. So this little bag of shims and the QR code, this was a little supplement, some shims for the inside of the transmission by the outdrives. Take out a little play. You'll find one of these in all your boxes. Optimum performance, that's what we're after, baby. Oof. So that's the shocks part bag. The anodizing on the bodies of these shocks is a little bit different than what I've seen us use on the re-releases, and a little bit different than the original. So I like that it has a kind of almost a gunmetal finish to it. So actually unique to the 4-wheel drive. We brought the colored springs back, those blue springs for the front. That's good. You know, usually building shocks isn't fun, but it's just going to be an absolute pleasure on this thing. Oh yeah, wheels and tires bag. Got those old school retro knobby type tires, front and back. One piece wheels with hexes. That's it right there. Well, this is one of the more remarkable differences between the 4-wheel drive and a regular kit. Got your belt drives right over there. Can't have 4-wheel drive without belts. Shock towers. Back shock towers a little different to make room for the belts. Oh yeah. All right. I just got to skip to one of the best parts. Boom. That is the RC10 4-wheel drive chassis. Special etching right there. This is our gold finish, essentially commemorating that this is a special edition kit. Awesome. Of course, the body. There's another bag with the body components. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people are going to go for the camo yellow just to make it box art, but I love seeing what you guys do online, all the special paint jobs. That's awesome. Decal set right over here, all the retro decals. These decals and everything, by the way, these are all designed in-house. Our graphic artists are super talented. Sit right next to the guy who does these things, and one of my favorite things is seeing all of his proofs and everything. Some good servo tape. Dating myself, calling it servo tape. That's how you know I'm old, because that's how we used to hold on our servos. I guess people just call it two-way tape now, right? Arms. In order to be able to get the LiPo sideways on the chassis, it comes with 2 of those battery mounts. Now, this is one of the most critical bags. You have your transmission pieces, motor plate, lots of ball bearings. Yeah, this is a critical bag right over here, because you have 2 transmissions. Remember, 4-wheel drive, so you got one up front too. Everyone's favorite part, building turnbuckles. Borrowing a little bit from the B7 design over here in the front. And last but not least, we've got the nose plate. Oof. It's going to be interesting to see what everyone does with RC10 4-wheel drive. I think half the people are going to want to build it and make it an amazing shelf queen, and why not? It's gorgeous. But that baby is drivable and raceable. And don't worry, we are offering a full line of complete replacement parts for that vehicle. So although we didn't make probably quite enough of those, there are a ton of parts available. So drive it, bash it, race it, have a good time. We're there to support it.